Best regards. Today is Saturday, May 9, 2026. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. In today's video I will provide an update on the ENSO conditions in the Pacific, where we continue closely monitoring sea surface temperature anomalies. El Niño phenomenon is developing, which is anticipated to be established by late May or in June, and is projected to strengthen during the summer and fall, generating major climate changes across the entire planet. And as we have discussed during the past weeks, it should be limiting the formation and strengthening of cyclones in the Atlantic, while on the other hand it should be favoring an active hurricane season in the eastern Pacific Basin. In recent days we have continued seeing how sea surface temperatures across the equatorial Pacific remain above normal, and we are also seeing extreme values with anomalies between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius above normal just west of Mexico. And to monitor the progress of the El Niño phenomenon, we also observe the pattern of temperature anomalies in the depths of the ocean. When we look along the equatorial Pacific, we can see that the warmest temperature anomalies are found between 100 and 150 meters below the surface. As I mentioned in the previous video, we have seen the progression of these warm temperatures moving eastward and toward the surface. During the coming weeks we will see what will lead to the official formation of the El Niño phenomenon. Now I will discuss the most recent projections regarding the intensity of El Niño, and at the end of the video I will discuss the anticipated global effects, but specifically across the southern United States, Mexico, the Caribbean, South America, and Central America. According to the latest NMME multimodal projections, we can see that in general there is consensus that between September and October we will be under what we know as Super El Niño conditions, where temperatures on average in the Niño 3.4 region may exceed 2 degrees Celsius above normal. So much so that this model ensemble on average projects one of the strongest El Niño events on record, and in fact there is the possibility that it could become the strongest El Niño event on record. This is definitely concerning because it will cause major changes in the global climate and regarding the hurricane season. Just as the precipitation anomalies show us, look at the yellow, orange, and red sectors where below normal precipitation is anticipated, which includes Central America, the Caribbean, sectors of Colombia, Venezuela, and much of the rest of northern South America, while we see above normal precipitation anticipated for the peak of the season across the eastern Pacific and central Pacific. This is an indicator of potentially an active season in the central and eastern Pacific, while on the other hand a less active than normal season in the Atlantic region. In addition, I wanted to mention that when we analyze the possible effect of the El Niño phenomenon, we not only look at how sea surface temperature anomalies would behave, but it is also important to analyze how the atmosphere behaves under these conditions, and specifically we analyze whether the atmosphere would be coupled with the conditions at the ocean surface. And one example is velocity potential anomalies. In this case, notice that for the month of September upward, air anomalies in the atmosphere are projected across the central and eastern Pacific, while subsidence zones or air descending from the atmosphere to the surface are projected across the Indian Ocean and over much of Asia. Historically, these are conditions that favor cyclonic activity in the central Pacific and western Pacific, while usually resulting in lower activity in the Atlantic. Let's briefly discuss some of the anticipated global effects. First, I wanted you to look at the following graph where global average temperature anomalies are monitored. In red we see the months under the influence of El Niño. What I want to highlight is that according to this graph, since at least 1950 and as a result of global warming, the highest temperature records on the planet have been recorded during years in which we have had the El Niño phenomenon. It is precisely because of this that 2023 is the hottest year on record on the planet. Now then, during 2024 and 2025, although we had temperatures exceeding 1 degree Celsius above normal on the planet, it is very likely that if the Super El Niño phenomenon develops in 2026, it will become the hottest year of the last 100 years. Let's discuss some of the anticipated effects across the United States, Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. For example, for the United States, an El Niño phenomenon usually results in a wetter winter, higher flood risk, particularly for sectors of the southern and southeastern part of the country, and a reduction in the formation of cyclones or hurricanes in the Atlantic. In the case of Mexico, it usually results in more rainfall for sectors of the north and west during the winter, in addition to heat and some drought for sectors of the center and greater cyclonic activity in western sectors. On the other hand, for Central America it typically results in a high risk of droughts in what we know as the dry corridor. This can cause water shortages and significant impacts on agriculture and food security. For the Caribbean region, El Niño also results in drier than normal conditions, a greater risk of droughts, and lower frequency of tropical storms and hurricanes. In the case of South America, for sectors of Peru and Ecuador it usually results in intense rainfall along the Pacific coast, meaning a greater risk of flooding and landslides. For sectors of southern South America, El Niño usually causes more rainfall than normal for southern Brazil, Uruguay, northern Argentina, and parts of Chile. While for the central and northern region of South America it usually causes drier and warmer conditions across Colombia, Venezuela, northern Brazil, and the Amazon, which would result in low river flow levels. I hope this information is useful for helping you make decisions for the summer and fall, since El Niño will have important effects across the entire planet and particularly across Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and the southern United States. With that I say goodbye. The next video I will record will discuss which areas we will be monitoring for late May and early June given the possibility of the first cyclonic development, whether in the eastern Pacific region or sectors of the western Caribbean Sea. See you later.